Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is September 18th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. You can see the upper level low moving down the coast of California. Did bring some precipitation for portions of Oregon and some of the Olympic Peninsula there for the most part yesterday. And this system here has been with us for a couple of days now. Very slow moving, still across Montana as we speak. Right now, Washington and British Columbia kind of trapped in between systems, but you can also see out across the Gulf of Alaska the increasing jet stream here and some ridging trying to develop. And we're going to take a look at that and see what kind of precipitation amounts are going to be moving into British Columbia here. Does that have any chance to move down into Oregon as we go on in through next week? Are we going to warm up? We're going to be playing this cat and mouse game with some troughing over the Gulf of Alaska and some ridging trying to develop into the Pacific Northwest. So we'll go over that in the video here this morning. Let's scroll through this yesterday. You can see that system burrow into Oregon and California, then move down the California coastline as we went through the overnight hours. Upper level, slow moving upper level low across Montana, continuing as where we are right now here this morning. And again, British Columbia, Washington in between systems right now. And if you guys want to buy one of these t-shirts here, I do have a store attached to this channel, a moisture wicking performance t-shirt. I've got one on right now. I wear these all the time. They're very comfortable. My son, this is really the only t-shirts that he wears, so I've ordered him a few of those also. So if you want to help support the channel, click on that link down below. You should see the store. It should be on the page there. Just down below the video. And you can also get all kinds of different designs. If you have any design ideas that you want to put forth, just go ahead and let me know in the comments below. So thunderstorm activity today, you can see it across Montana, but you notice nothing for Washington, Oregon, or Idaho today, tomorrow, or the following day for that matter. And we're going to take a look at what's coming here in a moment, so stick with me. But I wanted to point out the heavy rain today for September 18th across portions of Montana. If you're headed eastbound on I-90 out of Idaho, you can see Livingston, Billings, you can see Miles City out here, and Lewiston. Look at this, some heavy precipitation up there also. Again, very beneficial precipitation out here. There could be some gusty winds out there. There are some high wind warnings in effect as well. So pay attention to your local forecast across Montana. Looking at Seattle, 9 degrees below average, kind of again trapped in between systems. Yesterday had some clouds around, 9 degrees below average, nowhere near that record high of 85 set back in 1991. Officially a trace of precipitation there. It's below normal so far for this portion of September, and depending on how these atmospheric rivers, if they stay north, we may end up below normal for the month. But you know, take that with a grain of salt. We still have the chance for some systems coming up here. I'll show you all that here in a moment. I checked this station here just near Brookings, Oregon. You can see this is right near the California-Oregon border. And if you want one of these weather stations, click on that link down below. These are very fun. You can see all the stuff you can graft. This UV index light need detection system tells you how hard it's raining and when it started at your house. So very fun. Highly recommend that station. Now looking at the next 60 hours on the Doppler radar, or at least the mimicking of the Doppler radar here. This is the North American model. This is actually a forecast of composite reflectivity. So you can see the upper level low there across California and across Montana. And we still have a very weak system kind of sliding through British Columbia that may bring a few showers tonight across some of the central Puget Sound towards the Cascades, and some showers across BC and Alberta there. And then that system will slide through. And we're going to try to build some ridging here, but we're also going to bring a stronger jet stream in towards western BC. So kind of an intense precipitation gradient. Looks like it might be setting up. More on that here in a moment. If we look at the HRRR, you can see no thunderstorm threat here over the next few days. Upper level low over Montana and California here. Now, taking a look at smoke. This is interesting because some of this is still flaring up on the east slopes of the Cascades of Oregon. So it's not great to see that, but at least we're not looking at widespread smoke production here across the area. We go on into Thursday afternoon, it flares up a bit again there. So if you're still smelling smoke, sorry about that, but you know, Mother Nature does not quite done with fire season just yet. You see a little bit trying to flare up across the east slopes of the Washington Cascades as well. So if we take a look at the European Artificial Intelligence model, this is at 18,000 feet. There's the low moving down the California coastline here. Put that into motion. You can see this very weak shortwave kind of moving across British Columbia as we go through this afternoon and tonight. Could trigger a few showers across the area in the higher terrain. Ridging tries to build in here, but we're going to have a fairly strong jet stream pointed into British Columbia at this point. So that could be bringing some precipitation there. We might be having somewhat of a dirty ridge with clouds over the top of that. Might actually be some nice lenticular cloud viewing as well as we go through the upcoming period. And then the ridge tries to build again And we'll see how long that's going to last, because you can see the troughing out over the Gulf of Alaska. Again, a strong jet stream to be pumping precipitation into western BC here. How much of that would try to get down into Washington? We'll check those precipitation maps here in a moment. But you can see additional systems trying to move in towards Haida Gwaii and for southeast Alaska as we go on into the following week there, as some ridging still showing up in a lot of the model runs. Now, if we take a look at the GFS, this is last night's run, the 90th percentile of the ensembles here. So this is on the high end of things. And if we scroll through, we're now going through about Friday afternoon here, and you can see the precipitation start to pick up as we go through Friday night into Saturday for BC. It starts to creep down some of Vancouver Island. But again, this is on the high end of things. I'll show you the lower end here in a moment. But it does show some precipitation potentially as we go through Sunday night into Monday here for some of western Washington, and a lot of precipitation still showing up in the model runs for western British Columbia as we go through next week. But you can see a pretty intense precipitation gradient. You can imagine the ridging down here versus the strong jet stream and the troughing to the farther north as we scroll on into the following week. So yeah, we're going to be playing this cat and mouse game between this atmospheric river. Looks like it might be hammering British Columbia versus much lesser amounts for areas further south. Now on the flip side of that, let's look at the 25th percentile. I'll scroll through this pretty quick so we can get towards the end. But you can see as we go out towards hour 300, I mean, you're talking not that much for Seattle, maybe clipping some of the very northern Cascades of Washington, but not much precipitation at all for Oregon and Washington, and much bigger amounts up across western BC. Not that untypical for this time of year, as these atmospheric rivers can take some time here. You know, it's still just September, but that'll be picking up as we go on in later through the season, no doubt, even if we don't get anything in Washington, Oregon this round. So officially, GFS ensemble mean total precipitation in inches. Let's scroll through about Sunday here. And it does bring a little clip there for some of Seattle. And again, western BC getting the lion's share of this. Not much for Oregon, and for much of Washington, not too much, relatively speaking, compared to what western British Columbia is getting. And then I scroll out about 15 days there. And you can see, again, that tight precipitation gradient right across northern Washington. Now, if we take a look at 200 millibars, this is what's going on with the jet stream above us. So there's the upper level low with the California system there. And then I'm watching this because I think this might produce some lenticular cloud activity here. I'll be watching this closely as we go on into tomorrow, excuse me, Saturday and Sunday. And then we start to bring this ridging here that wants to develop of the Pacific Northwest. And then we'll try to bring another jet stream in here as we go through the extended forecast right back into western BC. So you can kind of see that cat and mouse game with a stronger jet stream. You really got to watch where this thing sets up. But it still is fairly early in the season for big atmospheric rivers getting down into Washington and Oregon. But it can happen. You can't completely rule it out. But right now, it looks like the big amounts are going to be up into western BC. And this is a picture I took a few days ago there. This was near Des Moines, Washington, and you can see the lenticular cloud stacks over Mount Rainier, and you can also see this lenticular cloud that likes to hang off to the east of the mountain here. So what you want for lenticular cloud formations is you want strong winds aloft, stable and moist flow, but not too moist. You don't want a lot of moisture down below because you don't want to obscure the mountain. You want to be able to see the clouds, right? So you kind of want just enough moisture to where you push this moisture up the mountain ranges here, you condense it, and then you want it stable enough to where it drops back down here and then jumps back up again here, because this very stable air does not like to be lifted, so it'll rapidly move back down and try to reach equilibrium and then bounce right back up and create this lenticular cloud you'll often see off to the east of the mountain if you're viewing from the Seattle area or a lot of the Puget Sound area. So that's why you get that secondary lenticular cloud there. And that's why you want that strong, moist, stable flow. You do not want instability here, because then that'll create more clouds and it'll obscure a lot of the lenticular cloud activity, or you just won't get the lenticular cloud activity when things are too unstable. So let's look at the European and see what it says about precipitation, if you haven't heard enough about precipitation here today. But you can see it generally agrees with the GFS and not bringing too much into Washington as we go through Monday night, the lion's share for British Columbia. And if we go through the 6 to 10 day, you can see they've kind of backed off below normal signal here for a lot of the West Coast as we go through September 27th, above average signal for much of the lower 48, and the West is no exception there also. Fire activity, not too bad, moderate for a few select areas, but you know, there's a couple fires still producing smoke, like I mentioned, east slopes of the Cascade of Oregon, but not too big of a deal, relatively speaking. Anyway, yeah, we'll continue to break this all down tomorrow. We'll take a look at what the models say. Will there be any changes? Will we get any ridging that lasts? Are we going to warm up at all? Those are all good questions, but we're really on the fine line. There were these ridges that do set up, maybe kind of dirty ridges where you're allowing clouds back down into the area and you're not really warming up. So it might not work out to be a true summertime setup, but we'll revisit that tomorrow and kind of try to get some model agreement on just how long those ridges or any of them out in our extended forecast will last. So anyway, hope you guys are enjoying the channel. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.